Am I truly a millennial? Or am I sort of on the tail end of being Generation X? You be the judge. Let's sort this out. This is inspired by Nate Bargatze. You can see his new special on Netflix, The Greatest Average American. He's a couple years older than me, but he talks about how there's this in-between generation between millennials and Generation X, where this is what our experience was. We were the last generation to grow up outside, and our parents just didn't know where we were. And we'd come back in time for dinner, and it wasn't a problem. We were the last generation to grow up without computers. I mean, yeah, we had computers as far as you go to the computer lab every other Tuesday and you go through some math things and just get through that so you can play Oregon Trail. And that's why Nate Bargatze talks about basically we're the Oregon Trail generation. As far as video games go, we're the side-scrolling generation. I grew up with the old school Super Mario Brothers, and even then we went to Super Nintendo. By the time I was in high school, it was the James Bond finally getting into the 3D shooting thing, but by that point, I was making my way out of all of that. So another thing to consider is the internet. So we didn't really have computers growing up. You had to be rich to have one, and even then it was very basic. So computers didn't even become a thing till basically after we were out of the house, after we already graduated high school. I remember my first year of college, the internet was so new that our teachers specifically would not let us use websites as sources for term papers. So imagine that that was what it was like growing up. We could just be outside and play, and our parents didn't worry about us. And we didn't grow up with computers. Now granted, by the time we got into college, then we finally got the flip phone, right? You could, and then by the tail end of college, I'm finally being able to use internet sources for my papers, etc. But didn't grow up with cell phones. Didn't really grow up with computers other than something you do every couple of weeks at school. It's a different generation. It's not the same as a millennial. It's not the same as the Generation X. We are somewhere in between, and there's probably several years, maybe about 7 years to be specific. I was born in 81. Obviously I just turned 40, so I was born in 81. So I would say, based on paper, when you're looking at paper, I think overall I identify more with millennials. At my job recently, we were learning about how in the workforce, what role millennials serve. And we are the mentors. We are the ones very much focused on being loyal to the people we work for, to our employers, because we still got half our life left. We're still gonna be working a bit, and now we've got some work experience under our belt. I've been doing my career for 15 years, but I'm still wanting to continue to do that. I'm not looking at switching careers at this point. So being loyal and helping other people grow them up, because again, 15 years experience, I know what I'm doing now. I can help younger people of the next generation coming in. And that's basically a stereotype about millennials. But there's also plenty of other stereotypes that aren't really true. Like for me, even though I own a smartphone, I peaked with having my flip phone. I miss just the old school flip and the text. I miss that. I'm so old school, I don't even know how to download an app. I'm so old school that my wife and I met in real life, not on a dating app. I'm so old school that I've never done a rideshare like Lyft or Uber. Never done that. Because there's still part of me that's old school, but based on my age and based on what I'm focused on, really culturally, I fall somewhat in between, but really I feel that Nate Bargatze is right. We are our own generation, ultimately the Oregon Trail. What do you have to say about that in the comments right here?